All righty. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. David Fleck with Veri-Lock. And thank you so much for being here, everybody. David Fleck was a real estate fraud prosecutor, and then he was a private trial lawyer. He's battled home title theft and deed fraud in court since 2003. That was long before anybody even thought about title fraud, right? In 2019, he founded Veritable Data Solutions to develop technology that would prevent these scams once and for all. Today, he's going to show us the Veri-Lock Electronic Notary Journal, which he believes does just that. Thank you, David. Go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen here. And I heard there's a button I need to click. Is that right?
Yes. So once you share your screen,
after I share it, okay.
Yeah, after you share it, over to the far right, there's going to be 3 little dots, and you just click on Share Computer Sound.
Share sound. Okay. Hang on. There we go. Share sound. Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me, Notary Stars. This is great to be here with you tonight. I want to ask you, before we get into the demo itself of this electronic notary journal, I want to tell you how we got here. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about how we got here and why we did this. So if you can see me on your screen, okay, I'm going to hold this in front of me so you can see what I'm holding up here. You probably all recognize this as a notary stamp, right?
Yep.
But this is my notary stamp, and this is what it shows. Joe Q. Fraudster, the fake seal of the state of confusion for a Notary Public in Con Artist County. I bought this stamp for $14 online. It was delivered to my home. No questions asked. Now, obviously, mine's fake. I use it for educational purposes, but I could have put any notary's name on that. I could have put any commission number on, any state, any seal I wanted. Nobody checked. Nobody cared. You know, even if we crack down on the bigger entities online that do this kind of thing, internet is vast and huge. There's always going to be people out there who can make fraudulent stamps. And a lot of damage can be done with stamps like this. So what I want to talk to you about is briefly what kind of damage is done and why and how that led us to Veri-Lock. On the right, you'll see a deed from an actual case I handled. This is actually an oldie but a goodie. I like to use this one because it's really got everything on it. Everything that could go wrong is on it. That notary stamp at the bottom is totally fake. That notary didn't even exist. It was completely fictitious. There was no way, and yet there was no way for anybody really to know that it was fake once it's on there. There's no easy way for title companies, lawyers, county clerks, buyers, sellers, anybody to find out if that's to even suspect that it might be a fake notary, and then to confirm whether it is a real or fake notary. Or if it was a real notary and their stamp was just stolen or duplicated, it makes it even harder to figure all that out without tracking down a notary somewhere. There's no easy way to do it. You know, the grantor here on this deed was totally fake and fictitious and didn't exist. Yet this entire thing got the official government stamp of approval and was used for all sorts of fraudulent scams, which I could talk about in another presentation. But you know, you heard my background. I was a prosecutor. In 2003, I handled my first real estate fraud case. It involved deed fraud, and ever since then, I've handled more and more cases, both as a prosecutor and in private practice. And my co-founder, who's actually on this presentation here too, he was in software development. He's in real estate development, but he came to this topic because he was a huge victim of this crime of forged documents, and huge. I can't even tell you how much money was stolen from him by a huge fraudster here in California who was called Madoff of Beverly Hills. This guy Madoff of Beverly Hills stole over $1 billion from all sorts of people and entities. So anyway, that's how we got into this. And we, thinking about how to solve this problem, we realized we needed to be in partnership with notaries, because notaries are the solution. They've always been the solution. Notaries are the guardians against forged documents. They're the front line against identity theft and deed fraud, and have been for hundreds of years, very effectively for hundreds of years. That's a huge amount of value that notaries bring to the economy and to the world and to our society. But around about 25 years ago, in the 90s, the technology started to come around to enable people to circumvent notaries, either with a fake notary stamp, an entirely forged document, which every computer can make nowadays, or with a fake ID. I've had cases where high quality fake IDs went undetected by the notaries. So we wanted to do two things. We wanted to create an electronic journal that benefits you, that you want to use, that's a great tool for you in your practice, and that simultaneously solves the problem of identity theft and forgery. We want to give you the 21st century tools to combat 21st century criminals and to stop them from committing fraud. So briefly, we think we've created the last journal you'll ever need. And we say that because it never fills up. The storage in it is infinite, right? And it's secured not only by multiple layers of encryption and other traditional security features, but also with modern blockchain security. The process is intuitive and step by step. You'll see that in a minute. Easily searchable, easily printed. Detects fake IDs. You can use it if you want to scan IDs. It's the same technology that many of the RON platforms used for detecting fake IDs. And we've given it to you on a smartphone that fits in your back pocket. And a convenient document scanner is built right in. I compared it to Adobe, the other a major competitor for document scanning. And we beat them. I think they do like about 12 pages per minute, and we are 14 pages per minute. And then at the end, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the partnership, because that's what how we really see this, Alan and I. We can only achieve our ends, which is to prevent these kinds of fraud, by partnering with you. And so we've built into this process 4 ways that you can make some additional money. No, we're not going to promise any kind of get-rich scheme and you're going to be able to retire next year. It's not that. But these are additional ways that you can add to your bottom line. And I'll go over that at the end. So the next thing, just before we jump into the demo, I just want to show you the website very quickly so you know where to go for this information. Let me just switch. Let's see. And can you still see my screen, the Veri-Lock website?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, great. So it's Veri-Lock-.com, Vera-Lock.com. And this is where you can find all the information you need about the app, the e-journal, the types of things that are included in journal entries, and all sorts of verification options and whatnot. You can find the information there, but also most importantly, here are the links directly to the Play Store or the App Store, depending if you have an iPhone or an Android. It's built out in both separate, for both separate phone types. All right, not back to the presentation. I'm going to just go ahead and right to the demo. And you'll have to forgive me. I actually pre-videoed the demo because the last time I did this live, I ended up showing everybody that I'm wearing shorts. So much so, I'm not wearing shorts today, just in case something like that happened. But it just kind of showed the kinds of things that can happen. So let me just go ahead and get this set up here. All right, let's go ahead and get started with. And just by a nod of your head, can you hear that? Can you hear me talking? Okay.
Yes, sir.
demo of the Veri-Lock electronic journal for notaries. Let me see here. The first thing I need to do is share my iPhone screen. And you should be able to see my iPhone with my son there on a wakeboard and the Veri-Lock button on the top left-hand corner. Let's go ahead and go into Veri-Lock. Grabs my facial ID to log in. You can also choose to log in with your password if you prefer. And so this is the dashboard. This is where you see your notary journal in reverse order. So at the top there, where it says history, is the most recent journal entry, and you can scroll down through it or search through it as you prefer. I'm going to click on the button, that pulsating button in the bottom right-hand corner. Brings up the menu, and I click on e-journal for electronic journal. This works, by the way, on Android as well, although I'm using an iPhone today. All right, so now we go through the 8-step process for a notarization, starting, of course, with verifying the identity of the signers. So I'll click on that. Here you have 5 options. Verify ID manually, which you've traditionally done. Verify ID electronically. It uses the same technology as many of the RON platforms do. Now, by the way, as a notary, it's still your obligation to verify the person's identity. So whether you're using this tool or the RON platform, this is a tool to use, but the duty remains with you. Then there's the signer is personally known to me, verify credible witnesses manually, and verify credible witnesses electronically. I'm going to choose Verify ID electronically because that is the one that will give you the best overview of everything that this journal does. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick the ID that I will use to verify. And in this case, I'll use a driver's license. Click on that. Go to the next page. Place your document within the frame until all 4 edges are aligned as it is shown in the animation above. The capturing happens automatically. Ensure that all data is readable and avoid reflections. Honestly, I haven't had any trouble with reflections. So I imagine it have to be a pretty bad glare for it to cause problems, but maybe. Just because I haven't had it happen doesn't mean it won't. Continue. All right. Let's go ahead and zoom in on my phone. Excuse me, on my phone, with my phone on the ID till I get the 4 lines on all corners. All right. And with a driver's license, you have to do front and back. With a passport, it's just one side. Okay, driver's license. Place the barcode in front of the camera until it's automatically captured. Continue. And there we go. Okie dokie. And so it usually takes about 20 seconds to verify the information. It may vary slightly depending on your connection, your cellular or Wi-Fi connection, because it has to actually upload the data and then receive the response. And so 20 seconds is about as fast as it can be doing both of those parts. And there, okay, my ID was validated. Of course, as I said before, as a notary, you should also verify it yourself. But the fact is, technology is better at catching fraudulent IDs than the human eye is nowadays. All right, now the next step is to take a picture of the signer. And let me just say here, this is important for fraud prevention because when things go wrong in a transaction, you want as much information as possible about the people involved. So capturing a selfie, a picture of the person who's the signer is a huge benefit in those circumstances. However, you are the notary. You are in charge. You decide what you do with this app, okay? You don't have to do it just because it's on the app. So I recommend every chance you can to take a picture of the signer. But if you can't, just take a picture of the desk. It's not a big deal, and go ahead and move on. In this case, I'm going to take a picture of myself. I'm not a signer, but we're just going through the process here together. All right, so there I am. All righty, there's my mug, and so we'll move on. Now we want to capture the data of the the contact information for the your signer. And some states now require this. New York requires you to capture the contact information for the your signer. If you don't want to do that, again, you can skip that. Although, again, I strongly encourage you to capture as much data as you can. And the email is actually really important in this because it enables you to send them a copy of the documents if they want it, as we talked about earlier. And we'll talk about that again later as well. So capturing that is important. If they don't want to give you the information for some reason, you can have a standard, fake email that you put in here, 123 at, google.com or something like that, whatever it would be, to get through this process quickly. But again, as much of information as you can capture, the better for the future. All right. Okay, so now we move on from that. It says confirm form submission to prevent fraud. Veri-Lock stores data on the blockchain. This means once your data is submitted, you will not be able to modify it. We recommend that you thoroughly review the data before submitting it. Submit. Okay, now it's time to sign the documents. This process is replete with opportunities for things to go wrong. And some states actually require, like Florida, for example, requires notaries to make sure that the person is capable of understanding the documents that they are signing. Not every state has that requirement, but we have these requirements listed here. And the first time you go through it, you're going to want to read these through carefully. So for example, I have received satisfactory evidence of identity from the signer. Click yes. The signers do not appear to me to be mentally incapable of understanding the document he or she is signing. Check. As you go through this, you can just select all, because you're going to know these off the top. After you've used it once or twice, you're going to know these. Select all, move on to the next page. More things. There are not any blanks. It is not post-dated. Boom, boom. These are things that just protect you and reduce your liability. And the last one, all appropriate pages are signed and dated. These are things that go wrong that lead to notaries getting sued or being sucked into lawsuits. So I'm not saying that any of you would make these mistakes, but the fact is we're all busy and sometimes we do make mistakes. All of us do, the best of us do. So these steps are here to protect you. All right, signatures and thumbprints. Please ensure the following steps are completed for each signer. Collect the signature of each signer to complete the process. Take a picture of the thumbprint of each signer on paper. All right, so if there were more signers, then they would be all listed here and you'd go through them one by one. But since I was the only one in this demo, we're just going to collect that one. And you can either sign right there on the page, have them sign right there on the page, or take a picture of it. They could sign it on a piece of paper and you can take a picture of it and then click done. All right, and continue. Some states require you to collect a thumbprint, California in particular. Again, for fraud prevention, if you want to do it, great. If you have to do it by state law, do it. Just take have them put a thumbprint on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, and then destroy that piece of paper. All right. If you don't want to do it or your state prohibits you from doing it, then you just skip this, which I will do right now. I'll just skip it. We come back here to this main page. And we hit continue. The next step is to add your seal. And this is important because some notaries are actually licensed in multiple states. And so you need to pick the seal here. And so when they registered, they put in their multiple seals into the system. So here you pick the one that's relevant to this particular transaction. I'll click on this one right here and hit next. All right, here's another fraud prevention step, and this is unique to Veri-Lock. This is what connects us to the blockchain. This is what locks this entire transaction on the blockchain, and so that it can't be changed, can't be tampered with, can't be fraudulently modified in the future. The 7-digit number. And what you do is you write this on the document in an appropriate location. I'll show you the video that has it right here, showing you exactly how to do it. Okay. So I have a sample document I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm going to write this unique 7-digit number, I, D, Q, F, D, J. Every single transaction by all of our notaries is 100% unique. We will never run out of 7-digit codes for this purpose. Going next. All right, now we're going to add the documents. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, scanning documents. Photograph the first page of the document and all pages with signatures and notarial seals. Please ensure photos are taken with a steady hand, images are not blurry, entire document is captured within view. All right, what type of document is this? In this case, I am going to show you a warranty deed. This was actually from a fraud case in Florida. It is called warranty deed. I'll type that in. And now it's really important to put the parcel number in there because so many of these cases that do involve fraud involve a particular property, and people need to be able to search through records by the parcel number. So in this case, most deeds will have a parcel number on it. In this case, it is 01-4121-007-6450. I have to do that again, just in case I typed it in wrong. 4121-007-6450. Done. All right, there we have it. Okay, instructions. On the following screens, at a minimum, you must take a picture of every page that has your seal, your signature, and/or the signatures of the signers. At the request of the signers, you may choose to take a picture of every page of the document. Veri-Lock will then compile the entire document into a single PDF document. Explain to the signer that their documents will be encrypted and securely stored for them forever on the Veri-Lock blockchain. They will have easy access to the documents with the 7-digit hash and their email address. Tell them there will be a fee to view and print the documents. Continue. Okay, I'm going to add a 2-page document now. Watch how easy this is. Grabs it. Move that one out of the way. Oops. And grab the second one. Grab the second one. All right. Let me click save. And continue. And then we've added the documents. If there's another document that you need to add, you can do that there. And we need to confirm the location. If for some reason it's off by a slight digit, you can change the address there, hit confirm. And by the way, that's really important. In the cases that go wrong, and in cases where there is fraud, I can't tell you how often the location becomes important because it never happens where the bad guys say it happens. And so knowing where it truly did take place is really important. All righty, location added. Complete journal, final steps. What is this? This is an acknowledgement, acknowledging a signature, fees charged. In California, maximum fee is $15, so I'm going to charge the maximum. And then the last thing you might want to add are some notes, like say, sketchy signature, signer. You can do it verbally, elderly signer influenced by caregiver, period. And that will just help you remember it in the future. Or you can skip it. And the last thing to do is to complete the signer, and it gives you the journal, and it gives you the option to share it with the person who signed it. And that's where you click here. And if there are multiple signers, you could select more than one. If there are multiple documents, you could select more than one. Hit share, and it sends it to them by email. Now, let me show you what cool stuff it does for the signer and for the title company. All right, let me stop sharing my iPhone. And I am going to share a website with you. Share screen. There we go. Okay, so this is a demonstration dashboard that we created say for a hypothetical New York title company. Okay, so instantly after you have completed the notarization, the documents are now available to your title company on this line. So if they subscribe with us, they can put that 7-digit hash number in right here. You know, you can text it to them or get it to them in however you want. Type it in there, hit search. There it is. There is all the information about me as the notary, in this case, strangely, about me as the signer as well, about the location, the seal, if that's important, and also the document. They can click on this and get that PDF immediately. And let me just show you also what happens with the signer and how they receive an email from you. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, support. Okay, sometimes it goes to junk email, like depending on how tight your email controls are, as it did here, as mine are. But here it is. It came in right here. Here's the first thing they have to do. They click on this link here, comes to the signer. All right. Okay, let me make sure I'm showing the right page. I'm not sure I'm sharing the right page again. Okay, let's see here. All right, so here it came to the signer right here. All right, they clicked on the link. All right. Let me share the other page here. It took them then to this page right here after they typed it in. So they need a detailed report. To get a copy of it, they type in their email, which in this case, I use support@veritable.com, authentication, that is. So, and then it sent another email to them to verify their email, that they have control of the email, that they are who they say they are. I'll grab that very quickly. All right, I got it. I'll put it in here. Submit. All right, now this is where they get charged for it. And as I mentioned earlier, you get 50% of this fee if that's something you want. All right, so I'll put in my name, card information. Don't look too closely at my card information, folks. I'll put in the CVC number, 067, and the zip code. Okay, now. All right, and so now they got another email with that document attached. And I'll show you that again very quickly, and we're almost done. Let's see, where is the right one? I can't. There we go. There it is. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Not junk. Up here. There it is. And so they received an email here with the attachment and also a link to it online on the blockchain right there. That's how they find their document. All right. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Download it to this folder. Okay. Open it from that folder, and there it should be right there. And I hope you are seeing that. I hope you are seeing the right thing. There it is. Okay, and so there is their document that they scanned in, and that you scanned in for them. So anyway, that is the end of it. That is the end of the, you won't actually have to do all this part. These last two parts that I showed you, that's not what you're doing. That's for the title company or for your customer to go ahead and get a copy of the document that you have scanned in. You know, one thing that this does is it simplifies the whole process of scan backs and fax backs that a lot of title companies require. Our scanner works faster than most of the portal scanners out there. Our scanner works faster than the Adobe scanner phone app, smartphone app like that. The only thing it doesn't work faster on it then is if you have a fancy scanner back at the office. Those things are pretty fast, but we are competitive, and it should speed up the entire process. So let me stop. Okay, so that was a little bit, I guess that the YouTube has a little bit lower, video quality than I had anticipated, but you get 2 weeks to try this out, 2 weeks for free to try it out whenever you sign up for it. And you see you can do that. I see there are a couple of hands raised. Let me just finish this up, and that way people who need to leave can leave, and then I'll take questions for as long as you want to ask them. And we can also jump back into the app itself. So, okay. So there, the simple thing is the action item, go to Veri-Lock.com as I showed you. You get 2 weeks to test this out. And there's my email, there's my text. Feel free to send me any questions or any concerns. I'm going to give you an example. Just a few days ago, a notary suggested that it would be helpful to be able to fill out the parts of the journal ahead of time, so that the part that the signer needs to be there for can be much quicker. What a great idea! And that's absolutely something we are going to do. I'll tell you though, that's not something we can do overnight. That's a complex change to the app, so it won't be instant. But that's such a great idea to be able to fill in, for example, addresses, the type of document, that kind of thing. Ahead of time. So any suggestions like that, we'll always take them and consider them. But please try out your 2 week free trial, test it out, and I hope you like it. I just want to conclude briefly with the other sources of income. You saw one of them on there. If it's something you're allowed to do by your signing agency or by your title company or whoever hired you, you can share the documents with the signer. And when they access those through our system, they will get charged. It's not a free service. It's $14.99 plus 99 cents per page. So if you do that math, I mean, some of your packages are pretty lengthy. This could add some revenue to what you're doing, and we give you 50% of that. I mean, I don't think there's a better revenue share than 50-50 out there. And the same thing with Lock-A-Doc. Lock-A-Doc is basically the same thing, but for non-notarized documents. Say somebody has a contract that they want to lock in stone and make sure that date, time, location, everything is locked in. That's a service you can offer for them. And when they access it, we'll charge them the same, and you'll get 50% of it. It might be their will. It might be, maybe it's an inventor who comes up with an idea and wants to be sure that they can prove in the future the date and time that they invented it, and they want you to lock it on the blockchain for them. Now, for this to work effectively to really prevent these kinds of fraud nationwide, we really need the participation of title companies. So if you have a relationship with a title company that you think you'd want to connect us to talk to them about subscriptions, reach out to me, and we'll pay a referral fee if we were able to set up a subscription with them. And then lastly is Title Shield. You can go to TitleShieldSales.com to learn more, but Title Shield is a title monitoring service. Only about 10% of counties nationwide offer this service to their constituents, to their homeowners, to their property owners. And so the other 90%, for the other 90% of the country, this is the only tool currently available to them to prevent, to fight back against title fraud and deed fraud and home title theft. It's not a perfect system. It's not a perfect solution. Veri-Lock is the complete solution with the help of notaries. But Title Shield is a good solution for the time being. And we have built a total affiliate program. If you want to sell Title Shield subscriptions to your neighbors, to your customers, to whomever, to homeowners, to property owners, you can do that and receive a commission on that. At Title Shield Sales, you'll see the whole affiliate program. I mean, you can see from this that, I mean, we really do consider ourselves partners with notaries. We want this to be a great app that you want to use, that fits into your system, and that prevents fraud, that prevents the type of fraud that is becoming more and more prevalent. So with that, I will wrap this all up, and I would be happy to take any and all questions.
David, I want to start out really quickly and ask you a quick question. I don't know that all of us understood what you were demonstrating when we saw a seal on the program. And because this isn't an electronic notarization, I want to make sure everybody understands that. This is a journal. So what was the deal where you're showing us a photo of a seal and that we're choosing one or the other?
So when you have when you register, you have an option to take a picture of your seal and put it in there. And it's really just for your own records. So you know, if you are commissioned or licensed in multiple states, then you're going to select which one applies in that situation. If you're not allowed to, if you don't have a seal, or like some states, or if you're not allowed to take a picture of your seal, or there's some rule that prevents you from that, you can actually skip that step in the process. But we do distinguish between, you know, where your commission is. That's in there kind of as an idea for the future. Maybe at some point we'll have, you know, a super wazoo stamp that is connected to your phone that will, you know, take that seal and put it on the paper for you. Right now, it's just the simple process of selecting which commission you're applying for. That's not going on any document anywhere.
Okay. And then on that same vein, you're kind of verifying the information for the notary. Can anybody who isn't a notary pretend to be a notary with this system?
Here is the thing about fraud.
There's always a way, right?
But our theory is that you need to collect as much information as possible about the person who is doing a thing. If you collect, you know, a picture of them, the date, time, and location that it took place, and various other information, and even the person who's registering as a notary, then that's a huge incentive not to commit fraud, not to do it if you're a fraudster, because all the data, they're going to be able to catch you, right? But if they go through it anyway, we will catch them. So the idea is, whether it's the notary who's registering or it's a signer that's involved, we want to capture as much data as possible, because that's what detectives will tell you. Often in cases that involved, you know, a notary stamp who has been stolen or forged, they just need that first lead. They need a piece of information to start, to figure out who done it. And so we have tried to capture as much information as possible to give detectives that lead in those circumstances.
Okay, two more questions before we get to Susan. She's waiting patiently with her hand in the air. But two questions. Are the signatures on that we're capturing from our signer, are those forensically verifiable? Loops, drops, pressure on the pen, that sort of thing?
Not pressure, no, certainly not pressure or that type of thing. No, but the shape and structure of it would be. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, simply because.
I'm going to be totally honest with you about that. You know, as a prosecutor who has used handwriting experts before, I didn't rely on them. It's very hard for them to give you a firm answer one way or the other. I don't think that's going to be the determinative thing. The determinative thing will be if you can capture a selfie, awesome. If you're in a state that allows you to take a thumbprint, great. The signature, it's helpful, but I didn't rely on it for cases.
Yeah, I was the victim of notary ID theft. So someone reproduced my stamp and tried to forge my signature. Fortunately, the forgery was wholly different than my signature. So just looking at it, you could say, that's not you, right?
That's good.
But
Yeah.
they did tell me at the time that handwriting analysis is hugely expensive. So in any case, it might not be the first choice to be utilized, right?
Not in private, not in civil cases, certainly not. Often the district attorney can afford it. They'll have somebody on staff who can do it. But I don't want to. They work hard at their job, but I just didn't find it useful in my cases.
Okay, so last question, we're going to get to Susan. In Arizona, we are not authorized to use electronic journals yet.
Nor in California.
Nor in California, is that what you said?
Yes, not in California either.
So if we were to get on board with Veri-Lock, can we use just the ID verification portion of this without having to do the e-journaling?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So there's three options on there. There's the e-journal, there's Lock-a-Doc, and there's verify ID only, which is just that process.
Okay. And Miss Susan, thank you so much. You waited so long.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a couple questions if that's okay.
Sure.
So you have to be connected with cellular or Wi-Fi in order to use it?
For now, but that's at the top of our list to be able to do it when you're offline, and then it will store the data and upload it as soon as you reconnect. But for now, you do have to be connected. Okay.
Now, my next question is, if we do use the journal portion, how do you know who signed what document? Like if they're witnesses, I mean, they're obviously not going to sign every document that needs to be notarized, or if there's a borrower and then a non-borrowing spouse who signed some of the documents, but not all of them. How do you note who's signing what?
Well, that's a good question. I think that I mean, some of these unique situations are just going to have to be worked out by notaries actually using it. Just off the top of my head, I think that, you know, what you might have to do is start the process separately for different documents in that situation. And does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
So yeah, so you know, if there are documents that only have to be signed by one spouse, you know, you go through the journal process on those documents, and then you'd have to go, if there are documents then that have to be signed by both spouses, you would have to go through separately.
Oh, okay, I see. And lastly, if we put a note in there and then the signer decides that they want to get these documents, do they see the note that the notary puts in there?
No, that's for you.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That might not always be good for them to read.
The notes are personal to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment, if that's okay. So, you know, I can see where this could be, you know, owning a signing agency. I hear a lot from title, like, why did your notary take so long? So my first question, and then I want to say something about this, is about how to educate clients, because we see a lot of technology and notaries go out and buy it, and then they don't know how to spin it to their client and say, well, this could actually benefit you if I'm actually doing this process and it takes a minute or two more. So my first question is, if this works on the phone, you know, we do have people that are of a certain age here, and they may not be as quick on the phone. Is there I saw some hands go up there. Is there a some like iPads have like keyboards where you can type faster, or is there an app for like Windows that you can download to do this process through as well? Or is it all just through a handheld device?
There's not for Windows, but it's on any device, including iPads and tablets.
Okay, I think that might speed up a little bit. And, you know, I can see this being a hard sale sometimes for some title companies, because I do have clients that are just streamlined. They want everything gone fast and they're not going to like the quality of a phone scanner. However, I see a lot of notaries, and this is what I really would like to plug here, is I see a lot of notaries that tell me that they're terrified of general notary work. I hear this quite often. I don't want to do general notary work. I'm afraid of it. At least when I go through a title agency, they've been vetted some way before I go out there. But I see and find that there's a great deal of money to be made in general notary work if notaries really extend themselves out there. And I can see this as being definitely a solution that would open up that stream of revenue to give you kind of like an extra layer of protection in your general notary work. I think this is something that I would like to see. Now, Miss Beth, and I want to ask you another question here. And I always like to think like an attorney, right? Like I really wanted to go to school.
Oh, you poor guy.
I really like to put myself in those shoes sometimes. So let's say that you're in a state that doesn't require, or doesn't allow an electronic journal, but you keep your paper journal and you do something like, the ID verification here, where you take a picture, take a selfie, you have that extra layer of protection. Let's say you go to court, right? You're the prosecutor and you're an attorney, so this is a great person to ask. You have a notary on a stand going, what do you remember? What do you have? And the notary pulls out their journal. Of course, they're going to ask, and then the notary says, but I also have this information. Don't you think that would just help that notary get off that stand quicker and get back to work than actually just, giving a paper journal like they normally would have, just because they took extra initiative there?
Absolutely, it would, for sure. The lawyer for the plaintiff or the prosecutor would be very happy to know that you had that.
Yeah, I always like to put myself in a position when I'm teaching at Notary Stars, especially when I'm doing things. I always say, imagine yourself in a court case, and what would be the fastest way out of that court case to get back out on the road and working? Because if you ever find yourself in a court case, sometimes they last weeks and months, and you're not able to operate until you've served your purpose. So I always imagine, if I could prevent anything, how could I prevent it?
Yeah. So I think that this deed fraud will get worse before it gets better. Nobody keeps nationwide statistics on it yet. There is legislation in Congress to require the FBI to keep statistics and data on deed fraud. But just what I hear from my friends in the LA County Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement agencies across the nation, they tell me that, organized crime groups have discovered deed fraud as a great way to supplement their fraudulent income. And, if organized crime is involved, it's just going to get worse and worse. And I'm not joking when I say that notaries are the only solution. Maybe it's not. I mean, I think it's our app. Maybe it's not our app, but notaries have to be empowered with the technology to beat modern day crooks. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more. Just recently at Unlimited Ink, I had a notary who, caught one of those spammy, fishy, and I don't know if they're on the call or not, but they called me and they said, hey, I got this email about, signing this deed. It was like really pushy, trying to get someone to go, and you see it on the news, and it just really lived up to everything you don't want to get caught up in. So right. She wound up just backing away. I said it's best to just not even respond and block it.
What state are you in, Ronnie?
I'm in Arizona as well as Beth, but we have notaries on throughout the country tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we have a question coming from Julian Bimbo. Miss Julian, you can go, or Mr. or Mrs. Julian, I'm sorry. You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you're ready.
Yeah, it's Mr. How you doing, Ronnie?
Good.
Good. I just got a question for the gentleman from Veri-Lock. Do you all integrate with other companies such as EscrowTab and anybody else, other companies? Do you integrate your product with other companies?
No, not yet. But if you want to hook us up, we'll talk to them.
No, I actually heard about them on this same Notary Stars program, and I know everybody's trying to get the electronic journal, so I didn't know if you integrate with other companies or not. That's my question.
Right. Again, so maybe if for anybody for whom I wasn't totally clear, our app is specifically for paper notarizations, traditional notarizations, not online notarizations, and not in-person electronic notarizations either. This is for paper notarizations. And essentially the way you could describe it is we're bringing some of the technology that's used in RON to the paper notarization.
I just have to jump in on that question because you said it's not for in-person electronic notarizations. I can understand you're not able to scan the documents, but the ID verification, when I do an in-person electronic notarization, I'm still recording in my journal. So I could still use that component of the app, correct, to like do the ID verification?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use that ID verification function for any purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go to Mitzi, I want to ask two questions. One is to Miss Beth, and then the other one is to your partner. I believe his name is Alan.
Yes.
Alan, I made you a co-host, and I don't know if I can call on you to ask you a question, but let me know really quick if I can ask you a question direct.
Sure.
So I read your story, and I want to ask you this and then Miss Beth this. How did it feel when you were taken? I think this is really important to drive home the point for tonight. How did it feel when that happened to you?
Unbelievable. It took me days to believe it even happened. It was a shocking experience. And just so you know, in my particular case, the FBI seized all my assets before I realized what had happened to me. They thought that because of the amount of money that was involved, 8 figures, because of the amount of money that was involved, they thought that I was part of a scheme. And it turns out it wasn't. Obviously I wasn't, but it took me tens of thousands of dollars and 2-3 years to get myself exonerated from the scheme. It was just, and it was so easy for them to do. I was just shocked, absolutely shocked how easy it is to steal somebody's property.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I can hear it in your voice.
It hurts to still talk about it.
I believe it, but it also drove you to invent something like this and co-invent something like this to kind of prevent it. Some of the best things in life come from tragedy. Now I want to ask Miss Beth, when your notary identity was stolen, how did you feel?
It was a total shock fest, just like the last story. It was a situation where you're guilty and you have to prove yourself innocent rather than presumed innocent until someone shows you're guilty. It's really not how it works in the real world, is it, Alan?
Nope. And a very interesting thing, when I tell people what happened to me, and especially when I'm talking to notaries, the first thing that the notary says to me, well, they can't steal my stamp. They can't use my ID. Now I know that you have actually had that happen to you. Remember you mentioning they stole your stamp and your ID, and that's what it is. It's ID theft. It's clear and simple.
My stamp is photographically visible on any county records. It's on every document I have done, over 10,000 documents, and however many notarizations I did in a package are all out there recorded on public records. All someone has to do is pull it down, and that's literally what they did. They randomly went to public records. They got a copy of a document with a notary signature and stamp. They went to their little fraudster stamp maker and recreated my stamp and then practice my signature until they got what they wanted.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just add something to that? So there was a detective I used to work with who was investigating a case, and this particular notary, she did everything right. She was a good notary. She was doing everything right. The one thing she didn't do was she didn't lock up her stamp when she went to lunch. She put it in a drawer, closed the drawer, and didn't worry about it. Well, by the time the detective handed the case off to the FBI, because it involved multiple states, he had found almost 400 documents nationwide with her stamp on it. So somebody in her office was a crook and knew she didn't lock up that stamp. And when she was out at lunch, they were busily stamping copies of documents.
yeah, and here's
One
the
of-
other deal too. We've got, the court case that I'm focused on going, I'm innocent. And they say, yeah, that's what they all say.
I believe you, Beth. As a prosecutor, I believe you.
And then I've got the Secretary of State breathing down my neck. They're putting fines on me for not reporting my stamp missing. I'm going, epic. I still have my stamp. It was never stolen. It was never out of my possession. It's under 2 locking keys in a small case and then in a bigger case, locked and locked. There's no way anybody got their hands on my stamp. Well, you now are going to be fined $3,000 for not reporting it stolen. Did you not hear what I said? It was not stolen.
Exactly. I still have it.
It's still here. So it was a pure case of forgery. So I've got the case to focus on, and I've got the Secretary of State who's suspending my commission until the court case
That's
is
terrible.
resolved.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're working on doing, by the way, which you'll really appreciate, is that when the documents get to the county recorders can simply put that that number in, and it will identify and alert you that a document is going through with your name on it.
Ooh. That could be handy.
Yeah.
I want to
Just tell me
share.
what document, so I don't have to go in and look at it every time one of my notarizations crosses the recorder's desk.
Well, ultimately, it should notify you where the document, what the document is.
Yes. Okay.
And then you'll be able to say, no, it wasn't me. And
I don't mean to interrupt. That sounds a lot like I use this thing on Google where anytime like a client that I'm interested in getting business from opens a new office, like it's kind of like it reads Google for me, and then it's called Google Alerts. And
Yeah.
it emails me whenever something comes up. It's a way that I call it stalking clients. We use it a lot behind the scenes in our sales department. I want to mention these couple of things real quick, and then I want to get to Mitzi, who has been so patient with her hand raised there. Just a couple of things to kind of bring it back home, and then Mitzi, please don't forget your question. A couple of instances I've seen in my, a little over 10 years as a notary outside of these stories. I once was in a large title office and, a big national company, and I've used this story at Notary Stars. And this had to do with wire instructions, but I want to use this as an example. This guy comes in, and I'm a notary from another escrow officer down the hall, and he's just yelling, "Where's my keys? We're supposed to move in today. I've got furniture outside," and they're like, "We're sorry, sir, but we haven't received your wire, and we can't do anything." And he said, "I wired it 2 days ago," and I could hear this man just yelling, and then he's like, "Here are the instructions," and it was compromised instructions that was from, and the very first words out of their mouth were, "Get the notary on the phone." Now, that had to do with compromised wire instructions, but again, the first person that they went to was, I remember, the lady in the office. She was the branch manager. Did not skip a beat. Get the notary on the phone. Another instance I saw, this was when I first moved to Arizona about 7 years ago. My neighbor worked at FedEx, and they knew something shady was going on, and this is before Unlimited Ink really blew up to what it is today. I got a call and said, "Hey, can you come up here? You know, it's only a few blocks from my house." So I walked up, and there was a person in FedEx who had cut out a notary stamp and was placing it on top of documents for trust documents and running them through printer. And they weren't just doing one; they were doing.
And they were doing it at FedEx.
And I actually later at Unlimited, I actually later at Unlimited Ink. So they got a copy of that notary stamp, and this is how small the world really is. Later, I had never met any of the notaries in Arizona. I was the only notary for Unlimited Ink, 7 years ago. And I met the notary that they compromised the stamp. She was actually one of our best notaries. And a lot of our title companies and lenders had her blacklisted because of something. And we had to work really hard to get her reputation undone.
It's terrible. It's
really a small world. So I always think about that extra layer of protection. Thankfully, it's not happened to me. I am divorced now, but this didn't have anything to do with it. But I threatened, if you ever touched my computer or my notary stamp or anything under lock and key in my office, that we would be divorced the next day when I was married, because I took it very seriously. So I like hearing about these extra layer of protections, but I really want to get to Mitzi, because so patient there. Mitzi, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question, because I want to get your question asked.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. I have a question. Will this work on any tablet or is it specific to a certain type of tablet? I know some of the programs we're learning about only work on certain ones. So can you give us more guidance on that?
Any tablet. I think back to if I remember, back to 2008. Now I'll tell you though, I mean, if you do find any kind of glitch on a tablet, please let us know. With Samsung, with the Android devices, it's like every tablet is different. And that's why you ran into that problem. So, but we wanted this to be able to be used on anything. Yeah, I would say yes, it should work on any tablet you use. Please let me know if you find out otherwise.
All right, and then
just a minute. Oh, go ahead, Susan. Susan's been waiting.
Okay. Just a quick question. If you only want to use it for ID verification, is that a separate fee or a different fee?
No, you still have to pay for the whole app.
Okay, so is that
I just forgot. Is it $749 or $799? $749 a month or $74.99 a year.
And then that gives you unlimited ID checks?
No, unfortunately, no. Those, that's a service. There's a couple of companies out there that provide that service, and just like the Ron companies, we subscribe to them, and they are not cheap. If we get to the point where we have about notaries doing several 100,000 a year, that price will go away. But in the meantime, you have to pay for each one. We don't make any money off of that. All of it, no, most of it goes to the company that does the ID verification. But I don't know if you know this, Apple and Samsung and Google, they take 15% right off the top. So yeah, so no, there is a fee associated with that.
How much is that?
It's $425 per
each one? Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
And again, we don't, like I said, none of that comes to us.
Right.
That's passed on entirely. So,
okay.
And as we can get it down, as more notaries use it, we will pass those savings on to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. David, could I get you to unshare your screen, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Beth, I'm going to do a last call. Did you see any questions in the chat that need to be brought up at the moment?
There's still a lot of confusion over the code, how that's issued and how that's used, and how the recorder's offices all can identify you based on that code that you write on your certificate. So I think we're just still unclear about that piece.
No, that's a good question. So again, it's a unique 7-digit code for every transaction. And that bundles all the information together under that code. Date, time, and location, who was present, whose ID was verified, the notary was present, pictures of the documents if you've taken them, photos of the person if you've taken them. All that gets bundled under that ID. That's a block on the blockchain, identified by that particular code. All right, so now if the title company subscribes to Veri-Lock, then they can just take that code, punch it in there, and pull up the transaction information they need. If the county recorder's office subscribes to Veri-Lock, they can type in that 7-digit code and pull up the information. Originally we thought we came up with all sorts of high tech, QR codes and this or that. But at the end of the day, we wanted this to be as simple as possible that people could start using right away. And this is what we came up with. So, your laws, where you can write and where you can't write. So you just write that on there somewhere so it's identifiable and it's visible.
Does everybody know what an NFT is? It's a non-fungible token. So that code actually turns that document into an NFT. Just like your driver's license, you have a specific driver's license number. That's what that code does, is it identifies that document specifically as that document. And it may not mean much today, but down in the future, you'll understand it far more why it's there. And it makes that particular document unique. So if people want to research the document, the notary will have all the information connected to that document via that digit, that code.
And just to clarify, it's kind of on a need to know basis. In real estate situations, the title company and the county recorder's office, county clerk's office, they have access to the public data that's connected with that notarization. The signer has access to that information. And then if whoever they give the code to plus their email address could do it, but they are in control of it. So it's a need to know situation to secure all that information.
I would like to just add one thing with Beth's dilemma. You kind of hit on an interesting point that we didn't really elaborate on it. So when you're documenting or notarizing a document, it identifies the phone, the location, and the time that document was signed. So if somebody is to falsify documents, even if they use their phone or to illegally download our app, we're going to be able to find them. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. There's only going to be one Beth that's allowed to do that. So it's got a great tracking system, and you have to remember that's so important for you. I'm just going to real quick tell you something that happened to me, and it happened recently. It had to do with legal proceedings on what happened to me. And the lawyers all went out, and the judge told all the lawyers to go out into the hallway and sign a document, and then bring it back into his chambers. And so my lawyers, their lawyers, we all signed the document. And as their lawyers were walking back into court with the document, I said, hold on a second. I said, before you go in, and I used our Lock-a-Doc, and I simply took a photograph of that document. It turns out that the lawyer didn't realize what that document did, what taking that picture did. It showed that we were in the courtroom. It showed what time it was. It showed the location, the courtroom, and everything else. And then 2 weeks later, when I went to court, the lawyers, of course, didn't show up in court, and they claimed that document didn't exist until I waved it in front of the judge. And the judge took a look at it, and it was all documented where that document came from, how it was signed. And the judge said to the lawyers, says, Mr. Marti is standing here with a document that has all your signatures that you guys claim doesn't exist. By the way, not even my lawyer claimed it existed because he didn't remember. So it's a very, very powerful tool.
Gentlemen, I want to appreciate you guys for being here today. We've gone over about 11 minutes, and that's okay. But we got to get some of those people on the East Coast to bed. And so we have a thing here at Notary Stars, and I would like for everybody now, if you can, to turn on your cameras. We can always leave the meeting running after the recording, but I'd like for everybody here that has, to take a moment and turn on your cameras. Okay. And you know how we say it here at Notary Stars. If you are not naked and you are not stuffing your face with a sandwich at the moment, we have guests in the house tonight. Please turn on your cameras and let's give them a signature Notary Star wave. Thank you for coming here
I love
and
it.
filling us up
Great.
with knowledge tonight.
Notary superstars.
Yeah.
Yes. All of these people are definitely Notary superstars.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Thank
I
you
believe
guys
it
so
too.
much for being here tonight. Now, you guys are welcome to stick around. I am going to cut the recording now, but you guys are more than welcome to stick around and